It's kind of wild when you think about it. We live in a world where we're more connected than at any other point in human history. Billions of us, all just a click away. So why do so many of us feel more alone than ever? That's the huge paradox we're diving into today. What's being called digital isolation.
Right? It's that weird feeling you get when you're endlessly scrolling through someone's picture-perfect life. Or maybe it's when you find yourself having a surprisingly deep chat with a chatbot. We have all this technology that's supposed to bring us together, so how is it that this deep sense of loneliness seems to be growing? That's the big question we're going to tackle.
So there's a name for this, digital isolation. And it's exactly what it sounds like, this strange, contradictory state where the very tools that promise connection can actually make us feel more disconnected and emotionally distant from the people right in front of us. And this isn't just about your Instagram feed anymore, it's evolving. The rise of AI is adding a whole new, fascinating layer to this problem.
All right, so let's start with what we all know, where this whole journey really kicked off for most of us, social media. Platforms like TikTok and Instagram are absolute masters at creating this powerful illusion of connection. Let's dig into how it actually works.
Okay, I want you to just look at this number for a second. 78%. That's a huge, huge number. But what on earth is it talking about?
Well, that's the percentage of young people who are spending more than 4 hours on social media every single day. Just let that sink in for a moment. 4 hours. That's like a part-time job spent staring at a screen, totally immersed in a digital world.
And this chart? Well, it shows us the consequences, and honestly, it's pretty stunning. The research found that a whopping 64% of those heavy users, we're talking people online for more than 3 hours a day, report feeling lonely often. The connection between how much time you spend and how lonely you feel, well, the data makes it crystal clear. But here's where it gets really interesting. It's not just about how long you're on these platforms. What really matters is how you're using them. Are you an active user, commenting, messaging people, actually posting stuff? Or are you just a passive user, endlessly scrolling without ever really engaging? Because when you're just passively scrolling, your brain kind of goes into autopilot and falls into these really common traps. First up is social comparison. You're pitting your real, messy, everyday life against someone else's perfectly curated highlight reel. Then comes FOMO, that nagging anxiety that everyone else is out there having amazing experiences without you. But maybe the biggest hit is the most obvious one. 71% of young people admit that all this online time is directly stealing from the time they could be spending with actual friends and family, offline. Okay, but the story is evolving, right? It's not just about social media feeds anymore. The entire landscape of how we interact online is shifting right under our feet. We're moving from just watching other people's lives to actually interacting with artificial ones. Yeah, we're talking about a world where conversation itself is becoming automated. Think about virtual assistants, super smart chatbots, and digital companions. These things aren't just for checking the weather anymore. For millions of people, they're becoming a real form of social interaction. This is what experts are calling AI companionship. It's basically a simulation of a social connection, something that's designed to offer support and fight off feelings of loneliness. And you can see the appeal, right? For a lot of people, it feels like a safe, totally non-judgmental space to talk. But that's the key phrase right there, isn't it? An illusion of connection. So, why do our brains fall for it? Well, psychologists have a few pretty cool ideas. First, there's the social presence theory, which just means the AI is getting so good at faking conversation that it actually feels real to our brains. Then you've got this wild concept called the media equation, which says our brains are basically hardwired to treat anything that talks to us like a person, even if it's a laptop. And when you mix those two together, you get these parasocial relationships, which is basically a one-way street, emotionally. You get invested, but the AI, well, it can't feel a thing in return.
And this all leads to the big question, doesn't it? Is this new technology a good thing? A tool that can really help people who are struggling? Or is it just another barrier, something that actually makes the isolation problem even worse? Well, the research shows it's a classic double-edged sword. And you can really see that tug of war right here. On the one side, yes, it absolutely can help reduce loneliness. For someone with social anxiety, it can be a safe space to practice talking. But the risks on the other side, they're serious. It can actually lead to more social withdrawal, weaken our real-world social skills, and create this deep emotional dependency on a program that can never, ever truly care back. And, just like we saw with social media, the numbers are starting to tell a pretty scary story. AI companions might feel good in the short term, but for a huge number of people, 40% to be exact,
for a huge chunk of users. The long-term result is the complete opposite of what they wanted. The very tool they turned to feel less alone ended up pushing them even further away from people. It's a crazy paradox when you think about it. And then you've got the whole ethical minefield to walk through. I mean, we're pouring our deepest thoughts and feelings into these systems, but where is all that data going? Could it be used to subtly manipulate our emotions, just to keep us hooked? The scary part is, right now, there's almost no regulation, no one watching over this stuff.
Okay, so this all sounds pretty heavy, but it's not all doom and gloom. The research actually gives us a roadmap out of this. It's all about finding a healthier balance and making a conscious choice to reclaim those real-world connections.
It really boils down to 4 key ideas. First, a digital detox, actually scheduling time to put the phone down and just be present. Second, and this one's huge, just talk about it. Making this a normal conversation with your friends and family is a massive step. Third, get out there. Join a club, play a sport, anything to build those in-person social muscles. And finally, it's about shifting your mindset from mindless scrolling to mindful, intentional use of your tech.
And you know what? Here's the part that gives me a lot of hope. Deep down, people don't want to be isolated. This research showed that so many young people feel like this is just a habit they've fallen into, and they genuinely want to find a way out. That desire for real, authentic human connection is still incredibly powerful.
So it all comes down to this one final question. As our technology gets better and better at faking it, is it actually connecting us, or is it just getting better at perfecting our loneliness? The thing is, the technology isn't really in charge here. The answer to that question really depends on the choices that we all make, both online and, maybe more importantly, offline.